fakes and head fakes Vito ARUJAU, and that beautiful arm job by MAGOMEDOV. But ARUJAU gets to the edge, swings to the single, and is first on the board with a 1-point step out. We saw that yesterday several times from Vito ARUJAU as he comes offside with a little left-handed swing single. His high pace has paid off in his bouts in this tournament.
Yeah, what a great example of the action-reaction. Responds to MAGOMEDOV's attack, redirects him, drops that single. And again, MAGOMEDOV's not getting off those easy points. He only steps out of bounds as he defends that leg, keeping this match extremely tight over the first 45 seconds.
He won 10-0 in dominant fashion in his semifinal, did Abasgadzhi MAGOMEDOV. Vito ARUJAU gets on the chest wrap. The official gives 2 points for ARUJAU. But it's not confirmed. He changed directions again and gives 2 for ARUJAU. Those 2 points are confirmed by the second official. They have not gotten put on the board just yet. Our mat chairman and mat judge have to agree. Another 2 points are awarded by our mat official, but MAGOMEDOV, they put 2 on the board for him. And right now our officials are going to meet for a conference.
And so here we have it, as all the fans know back home, a 3-person on-mat official system. And so we have the on-mat official, we have the mat judge on the other side, and the mat chairman who agrees to one of the other 2 points. And so now we have the full points awarded. Looks like MAGOMEDOV was awarded a 1 point, and then the 2 twos for ARUJAU.
So ARUJAU had the initial step out. MAGOMEDOV took ARUJAU and exposed him for 2, and then ARUJAU had 2 exposures for his 4 points. And the individual neutral athletes are going to have a challenge here.
And so in the corner, coaching MAGOMEDOV is Abdulsalim, a very familiar opponent to the Americans who wrestled Kyle Snyder.
Right, Gadizov, one of the best 97 kilograms of all time. Frank Pirelli in the corner for the United States.
And so the match will pause as everyone looks up to the electronic scoreboard to watch and review those matches. For these athletes, you know, sometimes they like to watch the challenge, other times they don't like to, and like to just focus on whatever the score is, what they're going to do next. I think we see both of these athletes staying incredibly calm and composed as they wait for the jury to review this match and challenge it. Ultimately, there's still 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in this match, and so there's a lot of wrestling to happen regardless of what the score is going to be. The referees you see is signaling to the American wrestler ARUJAU to stand up. I don't really know why, because as long as he stays on the mat, he can do what he wants, but these referees...
So in that situation, MAGOMEDOV comes with a head on the outside single, a little high crotch, and sits ARUJAU to his hindquarters, right? ARUJAU chest wraps him. In your view, what do you think that point should be?
Well, luckily, it's not up for me to decide. It is up for the jury, who are extremely expert in understanding the rule set and reviewing these challenges. That's the interesting part about wrestling. It is a subjective sport. And so in some ways, there is the interpretation of the rules and the interpretation of the action based on what the jury sees, based on the angle of the video, based on the different interpretations of the match. And here we see this is the action that we're going to review. So we see the action offensively in that position by MAGOMEDOV. His head is on the inside. We see ARUJAU wrapping him around in that initial exposure, and the on-mat official does put up the 2 for that exposure over 90 degrees.
Right, so again, to get the 2 points, the back has to be exposed over 90 degrees, which you saw right there.
And that is the second sequence of action in the review that they're reviewing. So there was the initial offensive movement by MAGOMEDOV. There was a potential exposure from ARUJAU, and then a second potential exposure from ARUJAU. Thus being the two points that have been awarded that was challenged by the independent neutral athletes. And another interesting thing about the challenge is that it must be confirmed by the athlete. And so typically you'll see the coaches make the challenge, and then it will always have to be confirmed by the athlete on the mat, which I think is really great when you think about the agency and autonomy.
No, absolutely, and you see that often, and sometimes the coach gets excited and throws it out, and they realize that's going to affect me and hurt me later on, so I'm going to say I don't need that challenge.
So here's the action once again that we're reviewing. That was the second sequence that we just saw. And so the jury has the ability to go back and forward along the replays to slow it down and to speed it up. And now we're hearing the decision be announced.
First action to blue. So 7-4. So 2 exposures for Magomedov and 3 exposures for ARUJAU, plus the 1-point step out early. A 7-4 lead for Vito ARUJAU with 4 minutes 20 seconds to go here in the bout. A minute 20 to go in period number 1. So a 3-point differential now as we go back to action.
So an interesting point is that technically the challenge was won because they did change the score. So that does give Magomedov the ability to challenge again if there's another sequence.
Right, in a lot of sports, you can challenge just the one position, but they go back to the whole sequence and rescore it 7-4. And Magomedov, like you said, still has his challenge coming back.
Exactly. It is quite interesting. Sometimes you are literally rolling the dice to see how the judges will interpret a sequence of action. And like we just saw, there was a flurry of exposures between these two athletes in that movement. And so here we have it, 7-4 for ARUJAU in his first final at the Senior World Championships with 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in this match.
That chest wrap was tight, but also the single, Magomedov was able to break 90 degrees twice on ARUJAU with the control and a second position when he came back to a defendable position. So ARUJAU sat back up and went back down for another 2. So 7-4 here as we close out period number 1. That's a lot of points for a world final. 11 points scored, and they use a lot of sportsmanship. Like, hey, that was pretty awesome. Let's do this again.
I don't know if they're thinking that was pretty awesome, let's do that again. I think they're more thinking, hey, I'm going to take you down next. Right. But that's just me. I don't know. I've actually never been in a Senior World Championship final. That's probably the one thing in my career that it just irks me, that, and I never won high school provincials. So, you know, even sometimes the best, I'm not saying I'm the best, I mean I was the best on one day, but even the best have regrets in their careers. And hopefully neither of these athletes today in this match or tonight will have any regrets with how they perform right here as we get started into round 2.
So here we go, period 2, 3 minutes to go in this 61-kilogram final. Both athletes pushing and pulling, and a long sprawl by ARUJAU, but Magomedov knee walks up to a high single.
Exactly. He makes the adjustment, and Magomedov does not want to get caught again in that chest wrap position. He gets up to his 2 feet as he looks to continue to bring Vito down to the mat, but Vito gets his legs back and sprawls and extends as he looks to continue to create that action. And we see a Olympic lift position as Vito continues to put his weight on. He's got to keep his head high as we see an exposure here. The on-mat official has put 2 points up
for blue, Magomedov.
And that has been confirmed. And as we see, red has made a challenge.
So the action worked to the edge. ARUJAU defended for a long time, but eventually sat to his butt, tried to create an angle, and Magomedov pushes him out of bounds. We're going to look here at the video.
So now a tactic for both these wrestlers as they both sit and stare at the action as it happened. Interesting to see how maybe fatigue changes their mindset through this match. And here's the replay on this action.
So no one is stepping out there. They're both grounded. Magomedov arches, gets a body arch there, and rolls through. So there, the official said that Magomedov took ARUJAU to his back for 2 on the exposure. Did Vito ARUJAU change his direction to pull him through for his own 2 points exposure? Did it start in bounds? Did it start out of bounds? That's what the jury's here to tell us.
And now you can see on screen the beauty of technology and the innovation in the sport of wrestling. There's so many different angles that the jury can then utilize to see on who has created an action, who has initiated the action, who has got exposure. And so we're seeing so many different versions. This is, again, one of those replays from the over-the-mat camera, and we can see who's holding what, who's going where, and who's getting exposed.
So challenge lost. So not only does he lose the challenge, but he also loses a point, does Vito ARUJAU. So now we're tied at 7, and criteria is to Magomedov. And again, that is a hard call to make for an official watching it, and it was just as hard for the jury because they're in those scramble positions. That's a difficult position. And now 7-7, it's evened up with 2 minutes to go in our world final at 61 kilo. It's one of those times, do you second guess the challenge because now you've lost that point? I think it was a good challenge.
You know what? If I was in Vito's corner, I would not have made that challenge. He was winning 7-6. He has the gassing to take all of these guys to the final 6 minutes. And so he's given Magomedov the time to rest, the time to now be in the lead and really dictate this match. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Both going for gold, both wanting to win it, and only time will tell.
So does that change the tactics of Magomedov now, with now up on criteria? He's got great defense, he's got great hands, but Vito ARUJAU with a go behind as he pulled Magomedov's head down, comes around for 2, and now gets a takedown, captures a cross wrist.
And that's the thing, as a champion, you have to find a way to win no matter what the score is, no matter what the circumstances are. In one of his signature sweep singles, Vito ARUJAU comes back on top with 2 points in the lead with 1 minute left to go.
Are you the great prognosticator? We saw you make the call before the finals here in the arena. And now it's 9-7 ARUJAU with under 1 minute to go, but Magomedov, he's been here before. He's been a world champion. What does he have left to score here in the world final?
He tosses away his finger tape. And he looks to have one last effort if he wants to be back on that world podium.
He pulls Vito ARUJAU's head down, does Abasgadzhi. Magomedov, both athletes in the center of the mat, hand fighting here with just over 20 seconds to go. A push, a pull, a go behind. Magomedov works to the edge, and 1 point on the step out. ARUJAU goes up 10-7 with 16 seconds to go for glory. Vito ARUJAU, 24 years old.
So the on-mat official has potentially put up 1 for the step out of bounds and 1 for the caution. Let's see if that's confirmed by the mat chairman.
It was confirmed.
They've paused the match.
For the caution. And the step out. So now 10-9 with 7 seconds to go. So Vito ARUJAU can't back up in that situation with 5 seconds to go. And in his first senior world championship at 61 kilograms, the United States with a world champion, Vito ARUJAU. He now has a legacy. His father, a world champion for the Soviet Union in the 90s, and now Vito ARUJAU adding to the gold medal in the ARUJAU family. In Long Island, New York, he is a world champion.
Blood, sweat, and tears. I think that's what they say on the mat. We have sweat, we have blood. Maybe there'll be some tears tonight with that story. What an incredible performance from his Vito ARUJAU at his first Senior World Championships. Just absolutely outstanding.